What is happening to Napoli? Was Juventus-Inter actually a boring game? And what has changed really at AC Milan? What is happening to the Partenopei? The Partenopei that drew 0-0 against Fiorentina in what was overall a game that saw Napoli, yes, record a bit more shots on target, but just not have the same brightness as the start of the season when it came to finishing off those chances and getting the goals. Fiorentina played a decent first half and overall a solid performance. But the likes of Hamsik, Mertens, Zielinski should have gotten those goals. So what is really going on with Maurizio Sarri's men after losing to Juventus at home and then losing to Feyenoord in the Champions League, being knocked out from the Champions League? Maybe that psychological reaction has been negative, drawing against a side, Fiorentina, that this season has been suffering against all big teams, to be fair. And apart from the point at Lazio, essentially was never able to get any point from the teams ahead of them. But yeah, they managed a point at the San Paolo, something not many teams have been able to do so far. So is it more Fiorentina having a good game? Yes, to an extent, but it's also Napoli demonstrating there are some issues. And Maurizio Sarri has been saying once again that, of course, that's the way the team plays. It's very difficult to change that, especially not having the likes of course, Arkadiusz Milik, a centre forward, a physical centre forward that could use for some crosses and just change the way the team plays. That is probably Sarri's only mistake so far. He's not really found a system whereby if things get difficult for Napoli to score, he can change things a bit around and have a different style of play. It's a very defined style of play. It got great results so far, but it's also got its negative side. It feels like teams have started to understand what to do to create some trouble to Napoli, both defending in a different way, perhaps more efficient against the Partenopei, and then being able to also have their chances, because Fiorentina had some chances, but most of all, Juventus last week were able to not only score one goal, but they had the second best chance of the game with Matuidi and Reina making a great save. So that's showing that Napoli are struggling not just to score, but also at the back. And overall, well, it was a good chance for Napoli to go top of the league again, but they remain behind Inter, who of course are the big winners of the weekend, having a drawn away to Juve. And was that draw a boring draw? Juventus-Inter, I mean, honestly, let us know what you thought, because we've been reading all sorts of things online and listening to all sorts of things in the media in Italy. A lot of people complaining about the fact that you had a game, the other big game of the weekend, Manchester City against Manchester United, ending with a 2-1 result. So they've seen goals in England, whereas in Italy, well, of course, it was 0-0 in the end. So a goalless draw, and not even Napoli and Roma scored. So it was a weekend, a very interesting one that never happened since the 70s, that all four at the top of the league didn't get any goals. But of course, in my opinion, it was still a fun game to watch, the one between Juventus and Inter at the Allianz Stadium. We saw a team that went there to defend very well. That's Inter. Another team that, first of all, didn't want to concede, and that was Juventus, even though Juve was more attacking and overall had clearly the better chances compared to Inter, with perhaps Mario Mandzukic that needed a bit more accuracy when it came to shooting, and the likes of Cuadrado and Pjanic having a great game, despite not being that efficient in the final 15-20 meters. Perhaps Allegri should have brought on the likes of Douglas Costa or Bernardeschi, or even play Paulo Dybala earlier in the game. But the truth is, overall, the game could have ended with a Juventus win, perhaps even an Inter win on the counter. And it was a fun game to watch. It showed a lot of tactical knowledge on either side, Spalletti and Allegri making the most in exploiting the opponent's weaknesses and stopping the opponent's positive sides, and overall showing that a lot of high intensity, a lot of wanting to win the game, even though that didn't necessarily translate in a lot of fun moments. But it was overall a fun game to watch. Now, the big question that a lot of Italian media are asking themselves right now after Gattuso's first victory as AC Milan coach is, well, are the rossoneri actually different to the ones Vincenzo Montella was coaching? Gattuso went back to a 4-3-3 formation, the one initially preferred by Montella, and essentially had them playing in a very similar way. Yes, of course, it's very early days. Gattuso only had the team for 2 weeks, and 2 weeks of training, considering there was also the Europa League in the middle, isn't enough. But are AC Milan going at least in the right direction? Well, the first thing we noticed, and Gattuso said it in the post-match interview, is that they wanted a bit more. They are more determined to get the result. They were ready to fight more. They were playing with bigger intensity, and that's good. That's obviously positive, but that's not what Milan's based on historically. That's what Gattuso's based on. But AC Milan, as a club, they've always showed great technique, ball possession, controlling game, really. And to get to that point, Gattuso, of course, wants that. He said he will continue the same path as Vincenzo Montella in terms of ball possession, but then make it more direct when it comes to go forward. That's what he said. And well, the truth is, so far, AC Milan are pretty much the same. They played against Bologna in a very similar way as they would have played under Montella. They scored 2 goals, conceded 1, could have conceded more. It could have ended in a draw, which would have been another negative result. So overall, so far, not much has changed in the Gattuso realm. So what do you think is happening to Napoli? Are the Partenopei in a big crisis, or is it just a moment? Was Inter against Juventus a boring game? And what do you think is happening at AC Milan? Are the rossoneri different to where they were under Montella? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do contact us on social media. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Support us on Patreon and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's ciao for now.